Hi, this is Julia Stone.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Compliments first. A really amazingly great record.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you like it. That's rad.
I do want to start though by just asking. You all you're from Australia, right?
Yes.
I've had so many Australians on the interview line, probably in the past 3 or 4 months. Like notably, so many. Just kind of wondering, does it feel like something is happening down there more than usual?
I don't know. I mean, I think Australia's always had a really interesting music culture. I think historically it's always been a place that really exciting bands have come out of and really exciting music's come out of. I think the difference maybe now is that we always probably felt so far away from the rest of the world, and it's a lot more accessible now for us to sort of share our music and travel. And I guess that's something that's happened over the last 30 years. But I mean, when our dad was a musician in the 70s, it was like some of the bands that were playing around, even just the Sydney pub scene, were really exciting. And, you know, you hear stories about these bands that never really made it out of Australia, but they were writing really interesting music. And so I think it is a place that has a history of that kind of, just an exciting music community. And certainly growing up there and living there, and where I live now down in Melbourne, and there's so many great players and people doing cool stuff. And now I think because of the amazingness of the internet and how easy it is to fly places, people can sort of share that a bit more easily.
Sort of been a barrage of you all attacking the states right now with your music, and it's been so cool to kind of witness. So, all that aside, you do have this great record called Snow, which I do want to ask about. I don't know if it's irony that I'm looking at here, but it's a very sunny photo on the front, and you've got an album called Snow.
Yeah, we kind of just came to the name for the record from an experience that we had prior to making the record. Angus and I had sort of gone off and done our own things after the last record we made, and we were asked to play a show in Zermatt in Switzerland. And part of playing the show was that they would give us a week of kind of snowboarding and skiing and stuff. And so we ended up staying there and having this really wonderful experience. And this, you know, Angus and I spent a lot of time together, but this was the first sort of time that we were on holiday, just hanging out and having fun. And we hadn't sort of done that for a long time. And we had this really lovely time together, and we sort of started talking about what it would be like to make another record together. And so for us, it was all these conversations kind of amongst this incredible landscape of just the most beautiful mountains. I mean, covered in snow, and us gliding down the hills, you know, just having, not always gliding, sometimes falling. But yeah, just a really incredible time. And it was about a week and a half later we got back to Australia and we started building the studio, and probably 3 weeks after that we started writing, and Snow was the first song that got written. So it all sort of felt like, I don't know, like it tied into that time. And I think aside from the fact that it's this element that's very cold, it's also the same element of what the farm is for us, like open spaces and just kind of that majesty of nature and how that makes us feel. And that's what we grew up around. And I think that's sort of a big part of what makes us feel good as human beings. And certainly I think that comes into the music in some way, maybe a way I can't exactly describe, but a way that it's important to us.
Now, I've read about you talking about how the album is connected to nature and space, and it would, given the terrain and environment, it would be really hard to not have that sort of seep into the songs.
Yeah, I think so. I think your environment, in many ways, the people in the environment, the instruments in the environment, like the animals in the environment, it all becomes a part of the way that you make choices. And I think that's just a very natural human thing, and probably all through nature. It's like whatever you surround yourself with becomes a part of how you move and breathe and act in the world. So there's all this kind of stuff now about just getting out into nature, what it does for your nervous system and what it does for your heart and your mind. And I think we're starting to figure out that there's another way we can find peace in ourselves. So yeah, it's certainly something that I think we were lucky because we grew up with it. So it's been a requirement for our sense of happiness, which has been good.
Now, when I listen to these songs, it does feel like a lot of them sort of, I don't know if depend is the right word, but the groove becomes very important And I don't know, is that conscious for you guys? Is that something you wanted to lean towards?
I think with making records, and it's always been like this for both of us, there's not too much like pre-production or demoing or thinking about what we're going to do. We sort of, particularly in this situation, because we had our own studio and it was on the farm and everything had a really relaxed approach, we sort of, we were really able to just let things happen as they happened. And I think probably what happened with this record a lot was there was this amazing organ that Angus had bought for $50 from it was $150. We bought it from out of the local newspaper up in Byron, and he got this organ, and this organ had these kind of really dinky old beats on them, bossa nova and waltz and just like about maybe 12 different beats. And a lot of the jams sort of started out of those beats. We just like have them playing and have the organ going between a couple of chords, and then the band would all kick in and, start playing along to those sounds. And so, I mean, a lot of those sort of like, Who Do You Think You Are, Snow, Sylvester Stallone, they all have that organ beat in the background that kind of, Angus always says, became like the sixth member of the band kind of thing.
That's funny, thinking back to when I had like those little cheap Casio keyboards that would have.
Yeah, totally. It's so it's amazing what can come out of something like that, just like a cheap Casio keyboard, or this is an old Kauai organ, and it's like they really do have songs in them, these kind of like these things that have, will take you in a particular direction. So it's really cool. It's really fun to have it.
Yeah, mine was just meant to, I think, to annoy my parents. So good on you guys for actually putting that stuff to good use.
Well, I'm pretty sure we had a period like that.
No, I know part of the story, too, is you all creating together, really starting to solidify that. And I think that's what one of the common misconceptions is, because people think generally, when you think of siblings, that you have this instant line with each other, this instant connection. But from what I gather, this sounds like it's something that you all have had to work towards and had to work on more and more through the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's 100% accurate. It was like, for us, it wasn't a natural thing to work together the way that we started doing in our early 20s. We definitely enjoyed it and we loved making music together, but being brother and sister came with a lot of challenges, and I think any band being that young and moving away from home is going to come with challenges. But on top of the fact that we were struggling as humans just to figure out what the hell we were doing, we had this other historical relationship that we had to kind of figure out how to navigate. And I think what happens over years and growing up and letting go and becoming more accepting of ourselves, we also have been able to do the same with each other and get to a place where to be able to collaborate and co-write in a bit more of a free way was sort of the place we always wanted to get to, and it definitely took work and time, and like any good relationship, just like showing up and wanting to listen to each other and make changes where they need to be made where we could. And yeah, it's an ever evolving thing, like everything. It's always shifting and changing, but there's a lot of mutual respect and a lot of love, and we're proud of ourselves that we're still standing. We're still standing here next to each other. No one's dead.
Right. Well, there are so many other instances to look at in the history of pop and rock where siblings are just tearing at each other's throat at every turn. So to see it working out for you guys, it's very nice, and the payoff is very obvious as well with this record.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. It means a lot.
I'm not sure. As far as who wrote which song, but I did want to ask about a couple. Chateau Marmont. I was just thinking, that's inspired a lot of people over the years, and I was wondering what was it about the hotel that inspired you all to include it on this record.
Well, I mean, most of the tracks on this record we wrote together, so it's kind of, there's a couple that were more predominantly one of us, but this particular track we wrote together one night. It was actually kind of came out of another song that wasn't working. We had this kind of really cool idea, the Throw Me a Bone section, Don't Be Scared of What You Don't Already Know. We had this section, but it was attached to another song, and we were kind of like, we sort of pulled this bit out, and then Angus started playing these bass lines and layering up these different bass parts, and it sort of evolved into this song. And as we were writing the lyric, I sang a lyric that I've always wanted to sing about dancing in the hotel room, because it's one of my favorite memories of being on tour, is to be somewhere with someone we're always in hotel rooms, and this kind of idea of just being free in your hotel room, getting lost in love and the experience of being here. And Angus kind of started singing about like what hotel, and we were kind of just going back and forwards, and then he sang that lyric and it just sounded really nice. And I guess when we look at it now, the Chateau is an inspiring place. I mean, we lived in Los Angeles for a couple of years and we've been there a bunch of times and had some good nights there, and it's just that place that's kind of this, historically very rich place for people in entertainment and artists and directors and musicians to go and get lost, and not always in a positive way, but it has this sort of romance about it that we kind of really love to have in the song.
Ended up being a favorite point, one of the favorite points of me for the record, just amongst many. And I'll also point out, I felt like Make It Out Alive gets a really extra playful in the delivery of that, which really stood out. I mean, they're just these really cool, incredible moments all the way throughout. So I'm a big fan. I thank you for the record, and I'm happy to see you guys stretching out and trying these these new muscles. That seem to be working.
Thank you. It's definitely a different style of record for us, so we're really stoked, and it's really fun to play live.
Julie, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to see you around.
All right, lovely chatting with you too.
All right, take care.
See ya.
Bye.